Well, thank you for having me here today. Again, my name is Ron Corbett. I'm a candidate for governor. I'll be running on the Republican primary ticket. The primary this year is June 5th, 2018. I'll be challenging Kim Reynolds, who is the current governor of Iowa. She was promoted from lieutenant governor to governor after Governor Terry Branstad was appointed as ambassador to the country of China. I believe primaries are healthy. They're healthy for the candidates because the candidates themselves are forced to get out early and campaign and share their ideas, their views, their visions with the people of Iowa. I also think that it's also healthy for parties and the organization of a party. I remember 4 years ago, the Democrats tried to put everything behind Bruce Braley. He was going to be the heir apparent to Senator Harkin's seat, and he didn't have a primary. On the Republican side, there were a lot of candidates running, including an unknown state senator by the name of Joni Ernst. And Joni Ernst won that primary and used that primary to really catapult her to winning that United States Senate seat. On the Democrat side, Bruce Braley was rusty and flat-footed, and he was playing catch-up. So the party primaries are healthy, and competition is healthy. I announced I was going to run on June of last year, and I announced a new game plan for the state of Iowa. Governor Branstad and Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds have had their chance to lead the state. And so I think the Branstad-Reynolds era is over with, and it's time for some fresh minds and a new game plan for the state of Iowa. So I laid out 4 areas of focus on that new game plan. One is tax modernization. Iowa has a very high income tax rate of 8.98. We're calling for a flat tax of 3%. An income tax system that would be much simpler than what it is today, an income tax system that would be fairer than what it is today, but most importantly, an income tax system that would be competitive. One big challenge Iowa has is a demographic challenge. We need more people to stay in our state, and we need more people to move to our state. Now, there isn't one magic potion that people or a state can drink that makes itself more competitive, but taxes are one of those deciding factors that people make when it comes to where they move, where they retire. The second issue of that new game plan was improving Iowa's water quality. Back in 2008, the Gulf Hypoxia report came out that showed that the Midwestern states with the runoff of nitrate and phosphorus were creating this dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico. All the Midwest farm states agreed they were going to do something about it. And every state in the Midwest put together their plan. Iowa put its plan together called the Nutrient Reduction Strategy. That strategy was put together with a lot of input by citizens, farmers around the state, but it's a voluntary strategy. So it's not mandated on the farmer. And the challenge has been for our state is that when the price of corn is high, farmers have more money to invest in conservation practices that improve water quality, cover crops, buffer strips. But when the price of corn is low, they don't. And so we have a system that, based on the price of corn, whether we make progress on water quality or we don't. In 2010, the voters of Iowa passed a constitutional amendment. It was a constitutional amendment called the Natural Resources and Outdoor Protection Trust Fund. Over 60% of Iowans voted to amend our Constitution, this sacred document, to put the basis of this trust fund. And what it calls for is 3/8 of a sales tax penny being dedicated to natural resources and outdoor protection. And a big chunk of that goes into water quality and water quantity efforts. in our state. The governor and the legislature haven't supported that 3/8 penny. I do. I support that 3/8 penny. I think we need this annual, sustainable, ongoing, constitutionally protected fund to help improve our water quality. Because I'm afraid if we don't put together an Iowa plan and make progress on that, that it's only a matter of time before the EPA comes in and puts regulations on our state. We've already seen some of that with waters of the U.S. Some people may feel that, well, with President Trump in office now, there's really no concern about that. Well, presidents don't stay in office forever. Different people come in and out of office. So although we may feel comfortable with Donald Trump's approach to the EPA regulations, we shouldn't get complacent and allow ourselves not to make any progress on water quality. And the other threat is lawsuits. And we saw one 2 years ago from the Des Moines Water Works where they were suing farmers north of them. And that didn't create a very good situation in our state because it pits rural versus urban area. The third area of my game plan was to really rededicate Iowa to being number one in public education. And over the last several years, we've slipped. And I'd like to create an innovation fund for public schools to tap into, to allow them to try new and innovative ways to approach teaching at the local level. I'm not in favor of top-down education reform, whether it's No Child Left Behind or Common Core at the federal level, and I don't want to see it at the state level. I want to see local school districts with innovation. But right now, schools have been strapped for resources. And here in Burlington, you're almost down 100 students. So most of the school districts are implementing budget reductions, and they're not in a position to be putting resources into innovation. So I'd like the state to have an innovation fund, along with making sure that our teachers' salaries don't slide. We've had a system in our state over the years that's going to be changed now because of collective bargaining. And historically, wages have been above the national average in the state of Iowa. With the changes in the collective bargaining law, I'm concerned that our teacher salaries are going to slide. So I want to make sure that doesn't happen. I really believe that in the next 7 to 10 years, we're going to have a major teacher shortage crisis in our state. One, because more and more people are getting to that retirement age, that second half of the baby boom generation. And we're seeing increased turnover in teaching profession in the first 5 years. And so when you have that increased turnover in the first 5 years and you couple that with this wave of retirement, I think it's really going to pinch the teaching profession. And as I've traveled the state, I've talked to people in education, and they are seeing right now even a reduction in the number of applicants for jobs. And then the fourth issue is just generally showing concern for people. And when I see what's happened in the mental health system in our state, and this is one that the governor is a self-inflicted wound. They closed Clarinda, they closed Mount Pleasant, and then they closed the girls' home in Toledo. The people that were serviced at that level didn't disappear. They just got compressed into the system. The state may have saved money on their line item, but that compression just pushed people into, some cases, county jails, in some cases, emergency room, or in other cases, overflowed some type of community residential facilities. So really no money was saved in the system. It just got compressed and actually increased the cost at the local level, which is on property taxes. The other issue is the Medicaid financing scheme that they created. Again, this was one that, again, was self-inflicted. And when they went to this system where they had for-profit, out-of-state managed care companies come in, it became a conflict point on what I describe as a mission statement. When the private sector is involved, the mission statement is oftentimes one of profit. And we love the free capital system because it works. But when you mix the private sector for-profit mission statement with oftentimes the government mission statement of providing service, you have that conflict. And that's what's happened with the Medicaid system, is we don't have a shared, what I would say is a shared mission statement. We have a different mission statement conflicting with a different mission statement. And that's why we've seen some of the basically disaster from the whole Medicaid scheme, the flip over. And I think it's not going to get better in the short run. I actually think it's going to get worse because the governor's looking to rebid the business and maybe having a new MCO come in and disrupting everything. So maybe Medicaid 1.0 wasn't the best system, which was entirely government run, but certainly Medicaid 2.0, having all private sector running, isn't working. So I'm calling for Medicaid 3.0, more of a blend. There's really three pieces in the Medicaid area. One is the disabled community. Two would be the nursing home, people in long-term care. And then three would be your low-income population. I think on the disabled and long-term care that we bring that back in and have the state go back to the traditional fee-for-service. And I think there's some value to managed care with the low-income population when it comes to prevention, managed care, wellness issues that can be incorporated in from a managed care. But I'm not in favor of the MCOs, the out-of-state MCOs. I'd rather put together a non-for-profit consortium in the state of Iowa, where it's Iowa providers that operate under the non-for-profit umbrella with a similar mission statement of supporting people. So those are some examples of that third or that fourth game plan change of showing concern for people.